So this Hillary Clinton thing, you know, I have this glitch in my psychology that my wife always tells me. She always tells me, don't say this in public, okay? And it's the glitch in my psychology is that there's something about corruption that I find hilarious. And I know that corruption hurts people, and I don't find that part hilarious, but there is something about the overt, when people become overtly corrupt, it's so obvious they've lost the plot of life. And, you know, I always say that humor is a proof that man is a fallen being, because what is funny is high people. What's funny is a guy in a tuxedo slipping on a banana peel and falling into a puddle. That's funny because he thinks he's high and distinguished and looking good, and suddenly goes splash. And so what's funny about corruption, I think, is that we know we're supposed to be something so much better than this, but these guys fall into it. It's like George Stephanopoulos being the head news guy on ABC, this Clinton, you know, functionary being the top news guy at their network. They're so corrupt, they're so biased that they just do it openly, and this happens again and again. So yesterday we were talking about the scandal, and I know it gets complicated, but the simplest part of the scandal is that there was this dossier on Donald Trump. We all heard about it because we heard about the Russian hookers, right? The Russian hookers were urinating on the bed. And Trump's response to that was like, "I'm a germaphobe. Are you kidding me?" You know, but all of this stuff was basically a former British spy using Russian information. Russian operatives were feeding him information to run down to attack Donald Trump, to make Donald Trump look like some kind of Russian colluder or something like this. And it turns out they keep saying that the GOP began to finance this, and then the Democrats and Hillary Clinton took the financing over. That's not true. The GOP did go to the same company, Fusion GPS, but it's the Democrats who went after this dossier. They paid for this dossier, and they denied it and denied it and denied it. And this is the dossier that James Comey took to Trump and to Obama, and it's kind of started this whole Russian thing. And we don't know how much. The FBI was actually going to pay this guy, Christopher Steele, the spy, to keep on doing this Oppo research. And then they decided not to do that. And they're still trying to find out about this. But we'll get to that in a minute. But the point is that it is now clear that Hillary Clinton essentially colluded with the Russians to have an effect. When you take out the middleman, when you take out the Fusion GPS people, they colluded with the Russians to affect this relationship. So first, one of the funnier things yesterday is Trump, because Trump is now walking on air. He's got this spring in his step. He's going out to his chopper, and because it's just the cigar blew up in their faces, and he loves it. So this is cut number one, Trump celebrating the turnaround.
The whole Russian thing is what it's turned out to be. This was the Democrats coming up with an excuse for losing an election. It's an election that's very hard for a Democrat to lose, because the Electoral College is set in such a way that it's very hard to lose that election for a Democrat. They lost it. They lost it very badly and very easily. I mean, you look at the votes. It was 306 to what, 223 or something. They lost it by a lot. They didn't know what to say, so they made up the whole Russia hoax. Now it's turning out that the hoax has turned around, and you look at what's happened with Russia, and you look at the uranium deal, and you look at the fake dossier, so that's all turned around.
I love it. This is what the President Donald, he lives for this. I mean, he lives for it, you know. But this is the thing I got to get to. Now, so just remember what's happened. Now we know that Hillary Clinton and the DNC, through this lawyer, and they use this lawyer so he can talk about confidentiality and he doesn't have to testify about it, that we know that they went to foreign agent. The British spy is a foreign agent. That's the first thing. He's a foreign power. And we know that the information was coming from Putin, from the Russians, so that foreign power, to get Oppo research on Trump. Okay, now think back. How far back is this? What is it now? It's October. It's like a month ago. It's like September, I think. Donald Trump Jr., the New York Times turned up the fact that Donald Trump Jr. had a meeting with a Russian lawyer. Her name was like Natalia Veselnitskaya, something like this, right? And he went to have a meeting with a Russian lawyer because she said that she had Oppo research. He got into the room. She said she had no Oppo research, and he walked out. Now, let's just remember what the Democrats, and I cut this montage down to about a minute and a half, but it actually goes on for 3 minutes. These are top Democrats, Blumenthal, all of them. I'm gonna play more because this is how they reacted to news that Donald Trump Jr. met with a Russian lawyer to get Oppo research, which he never got. Okay, let's listen.
Information, dirt on Hillary Clinton from the Russian government, and expecting an agent of the Russian government to be providing it to him, and having the meeting, showing and again signaling the Trump campaign is open for business. We will accept information no matter how it is obtained, legally or illegally. And that is potentially a violation of the Espionage Act, yes, treason.
I think what we're learning with the Trump Jr. meeting is when you meet with any Russians, you're meeting with Russian intelligence and therefore President Putin.
The criminal activity, the unconstitutional activity of this president and his family. So I have dubbed them the criminal clan.
This is evidence of willingness to commit collusion.
He's saying, yes, I had the intent to collude. I went in and I took the meeting, which by definition is colluding. He's admitted to the crime.
Likely, as many of us that worked on the campaign thought, that the Trump campaign may have been colluding with the Russian government. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think you'd see a piece of evidence that would be as much of a smoking gun as this email.
A senior advisor and someone who was in the top tier of the Trump campaign colluded through the classic dictionary definition of what that word means.
Fake, 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 fake.
Fake. Now, I cut out Stephen Colbert. He went out, Trump should go to jail for this. That's what that was his joke. And Tapper is in there. Jake Tapper is in there. Yo, Jake, you know, it's like, I hope you're going to say the same thing. I hope you're going to be talking about treason now, but I don't think so. And here's why. Let me show you. One of the guys in there was Brian Fallon. Brian Fallon is Hillary's spokesperson, or was Hillary's spokesperson. So let's just to play them right next to each other. Here's cut number 11. Here was Brian Fallon's reaction to Donald Trump Jr. having this meeting with a Russian lawyer.
There's a difference between going out and hiring opposition research firms that work in the United States of America and going out and soliciting information from a foreign national.
And here's Brian Fallon now after he hears about this.
Opposition research happens all the time in campaigns.
Christopher Steele, who compiled this dossier, was a foreign national, British.
Yeah. So Christopher Steele's actions here, this is akin to counterintelligence work. He was not being handed things by the Russians. Otherwise, we probably know the details of these supposed videotapes and the business connections that Donald Trump has with Russia.
This guy has a mirror that just cracked right down the middle. He has two faces on it. But okay, so that's kind of his job. I mean, poor man, you know, it's a crappy job to have. I said, what's your job? You know, what do you do, Daddy? I lie for Hillary Clinton. You know, so she doesn't always have to lie for herself. But the guy who really gets me is Adam Schiff, because Adam Schiff, he's the congressman, the big kind of left-wing congressman on the House Intel Committee. I guess he's the ranking Democrat. And I think he has been McCarthyite. He has been like Joseph McCarthy in his, oh, yes, we've got proof of this and we've got proof of that. I want to go back and play him in March. This is cut number 8. What he says matters about all this stuff.
We will never know whether the Russian intervention was determinative in such a close election. Indeed, it is unknowable in a campaign in which so many small changes could have dictated a different result. More importantly, and for the purposes of our investigation, it simply does not matter. What does matter is this. The Russians successfully meddled in our democracy, and our intelligence agencies have concluded they will do so again.
So it doesn't matter what they were doing. It doesn't matter whether the information was true. What only thing that matters is that Russia was meddling in our democracy. That's the only thing that matters. And here is this same weasel, Congressman Weasel, this same guy reacting to this news of Hillary Clinton. This is the cut before, cut 7.
We've known for some time, at least it's been publicly reported, that the dossier or the hiring of Christopher Steele was initially on behalf of one of the Republican candidates and later on behalf of the Democratic candidate. This was the first confirmation of half of that. but it doesn't really shed any light where we really need light shed, and that is how much of what Mr. Steele found can be corroborated, how much of it is accurate. We've been working hard to answer those questions, which are really what the American people need to know. And indeed, some of the dossier has been corroborated. What I find most significant about it is the fact that Christopher Steele, no matter who is paying for his services, may have discovered before our own intelligence agencies that the Russians were going to interfere in our election on behalf of Donald Trump. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of a lot of the claims in the dossier, but I don't think it really adds much value to know who paid for it necessarily. And I view this as part of the effort to discredit him, which really doesn't advance the investigation.
So before, all that mattered was the Russians were meddling, but now what matters was when the Russians were meddling, what did they say? What did they say? And also that stuff about it's been corroborated. There is no evidence in the public that any of the evidence in that dossier, any of the charges in that dossier have been corroborated. They keep saying it. It's a Democrat talking point, and maybe it's true, but we certainly don't know anything about it. And the thing on top of this is the FBI, which may have had a role in this, may have used this dossier, this fake dossier, as evidence to bring to a FISA court so they could wiretap, Paul Manafort and some of the Trump people. They're stonewalling. They've been subpoenaed, and they won't turn over. We'll talk about. I just want to go back for 1 minute to talk about this kind of FBI angle of this story. That the FBI is covering this stuff up, is not giving over the documents. And Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, said it's time to cough up. Listen to this. Listen to how frustrated he sounds.
It's really frustrating. We've had these document requests with the administration and the FBI in particular for a long time, and they've been stonewalling. The FBI and the Justice Department needs to give Congress the documents it's been requesting, and they need to do so immediately.
And this is they've got all these subpoenas out, and the FBI is holding them up. Fusion GPS is going to court trying to keep from doing it. Their guys have pled the Fifth Amendment under questioning. I mean, this is really, really bad stuff.